Real estate terms you need to know if you're getting into real estate. So let's talk about this. There are so many terms. In fact, the terms you need to know are so vast and so much. I actually did an 8-hour course that is me and audio and about 186 pages because there's so much that's missing, I felt, when I went through real estate training. So there's a ton in that whole thing. It's called Real Estate is Leverage. You're welcome to go grab that at any point. I'll put a link below. But let's just do what I call the top 3. So the top 3 that we're going to talk about today is what is a bird dog in real estate and why it's so lucrative, and a few different angles on how you can do that. Number 2, what's a short sale in real estate? And the last one is single family residence. How can you use that? How can you monetize it more? And what are you seeing some of the strategies that are happening in the current market happen around big homes? And I have several single family residences in the Ozark area. I'll tell you about those when we get to it at the end, and how we've almost doubled our cash flow by a few really creative strategies. So this one's a good one. It's a big one. Make sure you grab your journal. If you don't have one, grab it in our description below. We have YouTube journals specially designed for my channel and to help you keep straight. What video did I watch? What did I learn? What am I going to do about it? And start building an action plan. You know, if you're going to be in real estate, here's the biggest mistake I see before I get into those 3 points of content. I see the biggest problem with most people in real estate is they just hunt and peck around all day long on the internet. They're just looking around. They're just looky-loos. You're not out in the street. So when I used to do real estate tours, I said, we're going to do real estate in the street style. So my tours were called Real Estate is Leverage in the Street, meaning you're going to come meet me in a market and we're going to walk the property. My favorite activity I did to people, my favorite, was I would give you an inspector form. So literally you would have an inspector form with all the checklists of exactly what inspector's looking at. You were on silence. You could not talk to anyone else on the tour. You had a little clipboard and a piece of paper, and you had to walk around and say, would you buy it? What would you change? What would you tenant improve, which is called the TI? And it's a yes, no, or an improvement. What would you do? And you had to come back. And then we'd use that as learning. It was real learning. It was real examples, not HGTV and you looking around the internet at a whole bunch of stuff that's probably been photoshopped. So get real and get in the streets would be my advice before you even get into this business, and get out of this place called the computer. So what is a bird dog? Why is it so lucrative? So bird dog essentially is finding an underpriced property and then looking for a seller. So you're looking for the property. So you're either as a bird dog in the relationship, or you're doing it as a wholesaler. So wholesalers, they'll find underpriced properties and they're going to try to find somebody to pay for it, right? Who's going to pay for it, and then somebody's going to buy it, and you're going to be squished in between and take a spread. I don't think that's simple, and I don't think it's a beginner move, but believe me, I spent tons of money on real estate training and they make it sound way easier. But if you don't have a database of buyers and sellers, anybody can find the property. Yeah, all 3 are challenging, but in that situation, you have 3 databases. You've got to find the buyer, you got to find the property, and you got to find the seller, and they all better come together around the same point. So it's a little more challenging. Bird dogging is much easier, in my opinion. So you're just looking for great deals. You're putting them out to your network, and if you don't have one, you're going to need to get one. So I would highly encourage you to get a database of buyers, sellers, properties, cash value properties. You're going to need to build a database if you want to be amazingly successful. And I'm talking multi-millionaire in this. And I've done all these things. So being a bird dog was interesting. I'd never really done it. I use bird dogs, a lot of bird dogs, and they could just make some points for bringing us the property. They could stay in the deal. Depends on the deal you have with your bird dog. But it's a great way to grow up a team around you who are loyal to you, who will stay with you. And for those of you who have a big job and have a lot of employment, but you actually love real estate, having it as a side hustle is a great business. Just put it in an LLC. That'll be your business. You can put it depending on which state you're in. If you're in California, you might want to do an S Corp. It's a little better structure, but I can't tell you what to do. You got to call our team, get the right structure so you can make the money. Because right now, if you don't structure it right, you can't run your corporate life as a bird dog through a company without the whole right structure. Just a little fun fact, and there's a whole story behind it, but bird dogging actually came from hunting. So go look it up on the internet and maybe it'll tell you the truth or tell you some interesting stories. Let's go on to the second way, which is how do you short sell in real estate? So what's a short sale in real estate? It's usually when someone's about to go into foreclosure is when you're going to find a short sale, or they've just got some other financial trouble. You'll find short sales in divorces, believe it or not. You'll find them in all sorts of litigation situations where the property's just got to get sold. They're going to cut the value of it just to move the property as fast as they can. And if you have good lending sources, that's what I always tell short sale buyers. Make sure you have a lot of cash, like cash buyers and lenders available. So the minute you can find that property, they're going to go quick. The other way you're going to find a lot of short sales, maybe some, I shouldn't say a lot, but you're going to find quite a few, is at auctions. If you know how to do auctions, sections, right? There's a whole bunch that are undervalued there. And you can either fix them up, you can keep them, you can rent them, you could resell them when you put some more value into them. There's all sorts of ways you can do that, but a lot of people buy on a short sale. 2024 market is anticipated to be a foreclosure short sale market, meaning people who bought from us. I was a part of the run in Boise, Idaho, and a few other markets, the Kansas, Missouri markets, especially Boise. Boise took a huge run. Our houses that we were building between 350 and 400, and we were selling for around 400. Around Thanksgiving 2021, we just decided to go up to 600. Most of the other builders around the area where it really went, like just jumped to 200,000. California money bought it all day long. So way overvalued. Great for us, bad for them, because now what? That appraisal settled back out at 400. They're either going to have to refi, live with their overpurchase. To them, they probably think it's a great value because they moved from a multi-million-dollar house in a really interesting state to live in. I'll just leave California like that. It's even more interesting today. We'll leave them there. But short sales are going to be a real thing in 2024, and it's going to be very lucrative for those of you who have the access to cash and lending to actually take advantage of all those sales, because people are going to go down. Banks are going to foreclose. If you can gather enough capital together, like a family office or private equity firm, you can actually go buy a bundle of these kind of properties from a bank. They're going to call the notes. They're going to call all the properties back. Banks do not want the real estate. They're not in the real estate business. So they're looking for people like you, or they can say, here, buy a bundle of 10, 20, 50 homes, and it's a massive short sale discount. You now have the problem of moving all that inventory. Before I go to the last point, I want to talk about subscribing to my channel. I want you here 5 days a week. I want you to click that notification button. I want you here. I want your family here. It's a family-friendly channel, 5 years old and up, designed for you to learn. There's a journal in the description below. Grab our journal and have your kids listen to it. Just what's one thing they can learn per day? You'd be shocked in 52 weeks, 365 days of being out here, what you're going to learn when you actually lean into our YouTube channel as a knowledge learning channel, not just entertainment, which is what most channels are. Last point, how do you do single family residence and actually make a killing on them? So single family SFR is how you're going to see it all over the internet, which is single family residence. They are everywhere, as you know. The difference is, are you going to own a variety of them, right? Which is a lot of old school real estate trainers. A lot of my trainers taught me, buy one a quarter, buy one a year. And over 10 years, you got 10 doors and you got families renting. Then over the time has changed. You got Airbnbs and short-term rentals. Now, HOAs may or may not allow that. So you have to really be careful of your HOA laws. You got to be just careful of the law in general. Like, I'm going to go back to our lovely state of California. Like, lovely Newsom has allowed 12-month squatter rights. So if you're a landlord in California, you are at high risk, in my opinion. I would run. Like, I would probably be a short seller in the California market to get out so my renters don't abandon. You say, well, I have great renters. Well, I know over a dozen clients right now that they're now willing to short sell. They're like, no, I had a great renter. Now, a year or two later, they're not a great renter. They stopped paying rent, and now they want to activate the 12-month squatter right law, and they can't get them out. So if you've got a mortgage and now you have no rent and you can't move them, you've got a heck of a problem. So you got to be very careful where you are. HOA fees, can you Airbnb? How fast can you turn? Can you do short-term rentals, or do you just do a long-term rental? The other part that I loved, and I've done a lot more of this than anything, are lease to own and what used to be called a subject to. Some states really, really tightened up the laws on this. So really know your state law, your county laws, your local just governances is, can you lease to own? Meaning somebody with bad credit would like to buy. So you buy and you become the bank. You're their mortgage. They basically are paying you rent, part of a mortgage, until they can qualify. Now, what I did to make sure I could move the property is I actually created a whole millionaire credit coach, I used to call it. So I would teach people corporate credit alongside, and just to clean up their credit so they could qualify. And I had a whole set of lenders that I would send those lease to own subject to people, depending on the state, to, so they could actually qualify for the mortgage, then they'd buy me out. So there's a variety of ways to use a single family residence. The other one, which is probably my favorite, I'm gonna give you two stories. My favorite, though, is to buy a single family residence or a variety of them next to a college campus, get to know somebody in the sports complex, get to know the athletic director. And where I learned this and saw it implicitly was in Georgia, where my son went to school. I saw it in Florida, where he went to school before that. He went there for 2 years, and then Georgia for 3. Both states I saw it. A lot of single family residents. And what they did is they rented to the athlete for a certain amount of money, which means the school paid them because they were on a scholarship. So you talk about stock and block cash flow, $1,000 a room, $500 a room. So you have a 4-bedroom house, you're making $2,000 from the school, which is better than Section 8 housing, in my opinion. And it's a better house. And yeah, you're going to have to do some TIs because you got football players or tennis players or swimmers living in it, but who cares? Student athletes. It's a great model. The other one is what we did in the Ozarks, as I started the video saying, we would buy houses that were large that we could move into putting a ton of bedrooms. So we have one house that we could put 22 people in the house. Did we put a lot of money in the house? No. We bought fairly cheap beds and cheap interior stuff, because what do people do when they go to the Ozarks? They don't hang out in a house with 22 people. They go to the dock, they go on the boats, they go on the jet skis, they have a bar, and they have music. So we put most of our money in the rehab out there, and then we bought an inventory of boats and jet skis and watercraft that they had to pay extra for. But it was like, well, you go around the lake or you can buy from us. We went so far as a little beer delivery out on the lake. We stocked their house with food and booze as another amenity that we would add. They could just pay us more. So we got our like nightly cash flow for 22 people so high, it was insane, because they could just show up. All their food and booze was there, their party was there, their watercraft was there. They were set to go. So a lot of fun and creativity for those of you who really get into it and want to see, how do I really amplify my cash flow? I got a lot of ideas. So back to real estate as leverage. I have it in the link below. I'm going to give you a 75% discount. Why not? It's not a cheap program, but it's not ridiculously expensive. I'm going to give you a 75% discount on the link below. Go grab it. I don't like to necessarily sell on my channel, but it's really good. Really good. And it's not just because it's mine. It's thorough, how to structure, gives you the trust structure, gives you tax structure, gives you the team structure, gives you a lot of variety. So dig in there, and also just stay here on my channel. Make sure you're here, subscribe, and anything you want me to talk about that I don't talk about, put in the comment. Anything you want to search for, look at the search bar. If you have questions, go to askloral.com, AskLoral, ask questions, make a request. We'll be back tomorrow.